So I do not know what's going on in ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wish them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
We went from the French Open right into the grass court season. So many tournaments have happened already. Tennis really doesn't stop for us at all. Like, we build up to a French Open finale and we feel like, ooh, we can just, have a little breather. No.
Well, we did, to be fair. We did wait 2 weeks to record. So much has happened. I think this episode might not be super heavy on results. There's so much other stuff to catch up on before doing like an official Wimbledon preview later this week.
You mean Yannick Sinner's eligibility for a Grammy?
Yes. I think Roland Garros definitely saw a boost in popularity, at least in North America. I'm sure it's always big in Europe and in other parts of the world, but in North America, it's, I would say, by far the least covered, least noticed Grand Slam outside of tennis.
The tournament also got a lot of play, run-on play, after it ended because of the Sabalenka comments. When Coco came back stateside, she did a lot of press engagements, and she was asked about it pretty much every time. TikToks galore with people having opinions and responding. A lot of locals. This is what happens.
Right. Are you calling Gayle King a local?
I don't know
Yes.
what that lady's experience is with tennis.
Because now she's pretty extra local, having been to space, you know?
Wow.
Because of who Coco is here in North America, stuff like this is going to take on a life of its own. Folks on ESPN were talking about it, many of whom have extremely limited knowledge of tennis, didn't know who Ariana Sabalenka was, or Irina Sabalinsky was.
Well, can you blame them when her own competitors butcher her first name? Coco was out here calling her Irina the whole time.
I feel like this is new. Where is the I coming from? Anyway, at this point, Sabalenka has taken her whacks, right? The whacking needs to stop, and this should probably die. Irina did issue a more robust apology recently.
Who are you to tell people to stop the whacking? If people want to whack, they will whack.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying that I am moving on. I think we should move on. Our last episode inspired a hefty number of comments on Spotify, at least for us. We don't usually get to double-digit comments. And a few people were very upset. Said that we were verbally abusing Sabalenka.
Okay. The narrative around this whole thing continued so much so that Irina was essentially forced to offer a better apology.
Yes.
One where she actually said, I'm sorry. And take that for what it is or what you think it... I don't know. Is it too little too late? You're supposed to sing JoJo now.
Oh, sorry. I totally missed the cue there.
Like you, I'm just no longer really interested in it anymore. We've moved on. Tennis moves on to grass. Maybe they'll play again. Soon. We'll see what happens then.
The first week of the grass season saw Canadian Gabriel Diallo win his first ATP title. This was at the Libema Open in 's-Hertogenbosch, Netherlands. Both champions in 's-Hertogenbosch saved match points en route to the final. Diallo did so against Thompson, and then of course Elisa Mertens saved 11 match points versus Alexandrova in the semifinals. Nominate that for an ESPY, okay? That needed to be like front and center on every tennis headline.
Okay, but for me, the real impressive stuff, the other or more impressive stuff from that week was what Tatjana Maria did. This was wild, y'all. 37-year-old Tatjana Maria won at Queen's Club. She beat Muchova, Rybakina, Madison Keys, and then Amanda Anisimova in the final. She said to all those big hitters, try it on me.
That's 4 top 15 players. The girls do not know how to play against these spins. They were just not ready at all. Someone teach the children about Monica Niculescu, about the old grass court players back in the 70s through 90s. Nobody plays like this anymore.
She becomes the oldest WTA 500 champion in history at 37 years old. You have here that she's also become the player with the third most matches played in WTA history. This is a woman who first played Wimbledon in 2006 or 2007. So she's been on the tour for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. You say you have here like you don't believe me. It's not that I have written it down, it's that it is true.
Well, what it means is I was unable to fact check it. So if there is a case to be caught, it shall be on your docket.
Correct. She has played 1,243 matches. That's third behind Chrissy and that other person who's on Real Housewives of Miami.
Women's tennis was back at Queen's Club for the first time since 1973. And at that tournament, Olga Morozova beat Ivan Gulagang.
Yeah, love to see women's tennis at Queen's Club. It's such a venerated grass tournament. It's kind of the second most important private tennis club in England. Of course, behind the All England Club.
That sounds so gross when
I know,
you say
right?
it.
Right? But it's a historic place in tennis.
Zheng Qinwen had a nice run there, made it to the semifinals. She beat Kessler and Raducanu. And as you all probably know, it's not her favored surface at this point in her career. Nice result here for her.
Yeah, and the Kessler win is looking better and better now that McCartney won a title this week on grass. These were only Qinwen's fourth and fifth career victories on the surface.
I think it's a reminder of just how little tennis is played on grass. Of course, hard courts, everybody plays on hard courts year-round. Some people are even leaving the French Open to go practice on hard courts. Some people are not going into Wimbledon with any preparation. Have we seen Iga Swiatek yet?
Right.
What is there to be... What do we expect of these players in these lead-up tournaments? Coco Gauff goes and plays in Berlin, loses in straight sets, coming off of the French Open. Does that have to do with the high of winning Roland Garros and then coming back stateside, doing the press blitz, having to come back to Europe, all this other stuff? Does she want to just get a few practices in? Maybe win one match. That would have been a win for her. I don't know. But it's very few players who will be able to get ideal Wimbledon practice, lead-up practice, switching surfaces, which, again, is why it's so difficult to win the Channel Slam. Not many people have that.
More than there used to be. It's a little more common than it's been in the past. But the European clay swing is long. It's grueling. The 2-week Masters probably help some of the top players quite a bit. Because, unless you're reaching the final, winning the title each of those weeks, you do have a little bit more time off. But for players like Jannik Sinner, Sabalenka, Coco, not so much Sinner, but they played a lot during clay. Carlos manages to win Queen's Club this week, but again, he is how old? 21, 22, whatever. Apparently too old for Ibiza anymore.
Do we know that? Do we know if he went somewhere after the French
Open? He did, yeah. He said he went to Ibiza, but he doesn't party like he used to because he's a little too old for that. The body is just not up to it anymore.
In Stuttgart, Taylor Fritz continued his winning streak against that guy. It's now 5 wins in a row for Fritz over him, and he beat him 6-3, 7-6, including a bagel in that second set tiebreak.
That's the 4th career grass title for Fritz. This is obviously a great surface for him. He will no longer be a 4th seed at the next slam. Draper, I believe, has snatched that up.
He has.
So maybe that'll do him a little good. Maybe being the 4th seed was just a little too much.
He was playing with injury and through injury for a while, so I don't know what his physical status is right now, if he's back to full health. But put that guy in front of him and he seems to be fine every time.
Including at last year's Wimbledon.
2 of the takeaways from our last episode is that we don't know anything about tennis because we underappreciate that guy's performances, and we're way too dismissive of him. And particularly the fact that politics and sport should never mix.
They don't mix.
They don't mix. We need to put a disclaimer everywhere It's in the bio, in the description of, the ethos of the show or what have you. But if you're coming to this show to have a politics-free zone, this is not the show for you.
No, I mean, you're welcome to listen still, but it will be upsetting if
Yeah.
that's... I don't typically read comments because I'm just way too mean in general. Like, I always want to respond. And it's not really a good look. Like, say you're a restaurant on Google Maps who always responds to your negative comments. It's not a good look. But I will say, being accused of being disrespectful toward that guy, I want to make clear the disrespect is on purpose. It's a feature, not a bug.
We're not unaware.
You were disrespectful. Intentionally.
I noticed you didn't clarify that you were indeed not Scottish. You have 2 passports, 2 citizenships, but Scottish
Neither
is
of them
not one of them.
is United Kingdom. Am I the Scottish one or are you?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. One of us is really nasty, and one of us is Scottish.
And even with those details, I couldn't tell.
Yeah. The mystery shall remain unsolved. This week in Halle, now this guy could be a really big problem for people at Wimbledon.
Yes.
I feel like we say this about these dark horses ahead of these big tournaments, and almost always they crash out in the early rounds. But there are 2 distinct dark horses who emerged from this past week of tennis. Bublik in Halle and Vondrousova in Berlin.
Yeah. I don't know if you can call a recent Wimbledon champion a dark horse, but her ranking was so low and she had been injured for so many months. Bublik, though, wins his 2nd title in Halle. His first one was in 2023, beating a kind of surprise finalist Daniil Medvedev.
Bublik not only won this tournament, but he became the first non-Alcaraz player since August 2024 to beat Sinner. It's also Sinner's first loss to a player outside the top 20 since the Western and Southern Open in 2023.
Yeah, that is wild. The stat about losing to no one except Carlos for nearly a year, now that is intense.
Sinner said that he needed to get some rest after Roland Garros. Rest to prepare for Wimbledon or prepare for the release of his duet. Maybe both.
A little bit of both. I mean, losing the Roland Garros final in that way, that has really got to take a toll on you mentally. And he seems like somebody who is well adjusted and really in touch with reality, and he comported himself admirably after the loss, but that's gotta hurt. I think it will motivate him, but you've still got to process that.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend who is doing a semester in Venice at the moment, teaching and whatnot, and he had the opportunity to travel south in Italy to spend time with his current paramour's family. And the moment he walked through that door to meet the parents was when Sinner held 3 match points. And so he's like, hi! Father was not amused by what proceeded to happen. This too because my friend is an Alcaraz fan as well. So navigating that, I'm not envious, but it tickled me.
2 weeks in a row, that guy plays in his home country, first Stuttgart, then Halle, isn't able to win the title in either tournament. Medvedev beat him for the 7th time in their last 8 meetings, which, their rivalry started off really lopsided in favor of the other guy. Now it's been steadily Daniel's for years at this point.
It's been a pretty disappointing season for Medvedev to date.
Yeah. The highlight was probably reaching the semis of Indian Wells. This is his first final since Indian Wells last year.
You mentioned that Carlos won this week. At Queen's Club, he beat Lehechka for his 2nd Queen's tournament win. Like Taylor Fritz, it's his 4th career grass title. Of course, 2 of those happened to come at Wimbledon. 2 at Queen's, 2 at Wimbledon. He's riding an 18-match win streak. He had 18 aces compared to Lehechka's 7 in that final. Faced no break points the entire match. Compared to when he played Jaume Munar for 3.5 hours in his first match of that tournament. I watched that one. It looked very dicey for Carlos deep in that third set. He was down a break, and he was able to somehow get it done. I lied. It was his second match against Munar. He played Adam Walton in his first match there, and that was a straight set win, 6-4, 7-6.
You mentioned Vondrousova being the other dark horse on the women's side. She has awoken in time for grass. We saw kind of her reappear on clay a little bit, but her status has been questionable for months and months.
Due to injury?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's her fault.
I mean...
The tattoos are her fault, but she's been dealing with injuries practically since she won Wimbledon
birth.
The last time. Well, yeah. But I love to see her back in form. And again, look at the material. Beats Madison Keys, who for me, I was going to put down as one of my top contenders for Wimbledon. Maybe still will. Diana Schneider, Jabeur, the number one Sabalenka, and then Wang Xingyu in the final. This Berlin draw was absolutely stacked. Incredible field. Practically a 1,000 or a major level field.
Well, you get one match in, and then you've got Sabalenka Rybakina.
Right.
Like, this tournament could not have been more pleased with the matches and the feel that it had to offer fans last week.
Mm-hmm. In that final, in the first set tiebreak, Vondrousova was down 6-2, saves 6 set points on the way to winning that final in 3 sets. Her last final and her last title was actually when she won Wimbledon 2 years ago.
Happy to see Ons Jabeur having a good result here. Lucky loser, making it all the way to the quarterfinals. A lot of first-round losses this year, but she's also made quite a few quarterfinals. Here in Berlin, she was in Abu Dhabi, she was in Doha, I believe. One to start the year in Australia. It's been stops and starts. Feeling a little bit better, having regression with injury. I would like to see better luck for her going forward. I think the tour is much better with Ons playing well week in, week out.
You mentioned that we got Sabalenka Rybakina, number 11. Rybakina had 4 straight match points in that final set tiebreak, up 6-2, ended up losing 6 straight points to go down 8-6 in that tiebreak and lose the match in 2 hours and 45 minutes. Tough one. To me, Rybakina should always be the favorite on grass.
To be clear, Sabalenka got very lucky. One of those match points saved was on a ridiculous dribble off the top of the net.
Sure, but there were 3 other match points.
I'm just saying.
It was one point was lucky.
Saying.
Sabalenka improves to 7-4 in that rivalry. And then this week in Nottingham, I mentioned that Kessler won the title. She beat Yastremska in straight sets. She is having a sleeper season. 3 finals, 2 wins, and her ranking has gone from 67 to number 32, so now in seeding territory at slams.
There are a few more tournaments this week before Wimbledon gets started in 8 days.
Yeah.
And we will be there on that day.
We will. Yeah, we're going to be there on days 1 and 2. I would love to be there for more days. So if anybody has a spare ticket or 2, let us know.
Or if you've got a hookup. Of course, we will be having a Wimbledon preview episode. One of the things that you won't be having to deal with this year at Wimbledon is Nick Kyrgios' commentary, because he was fired by the BBC.
Yeah, or not asked back. I don't know how their contracts work, but he will not be working for BBC or ESPN for this Wimbledon, and he's also, of course, pulled out of playing the tournament due to injury. One report, and now this is alleged, I haven't seen this reported elsewhere, but one report said that there was serious internal pressure from female commentators, journalists, and producers, which was about to reach the point of possible boycotts or resignations if he had been asked back.
Only the women commentators, though. The men, nothing from the men.
Yeah, would have been nice if some male staffers were involved in that, if of course this really happened.
The Telegraph said, quote, "The corporation's hiring of Kyrgios last year was condemned by senior MPs and women's campaigners. Caroline Noakes, Then the Women and Equality Select Committee chair said the BBC should, quote, hang its head in shame for agreeing terms after he admitted assaulting an ex-girlfriend. I guess coming to terms, giving him a contract.
Now, last year, BBC clearly wasn't concerned about the admission of domestic abuse. They knew about it, right? It happened well before he was hired by BBC. In my opinion, not being an insider, I do think this also had something more to do with some of the recklessness of his comments about Yannick Sinner, his public spat with Andy Roddick. I mean, just his recklessness in general, right? It might be embarrassing for the brand. BBC is allegedly, the high class, the elite public broadcaster in the UK. This doesn't really fit with their vibe or their code of conduct.
Nick, for his part, I can't believe I have to read this. In The Guardian, he's quoted as saying, "It's unfortunate, but it's probably their loss more than mine. I understand they've got Chris Eubanks, but he hasn't beaten the greatest of all time multiple times. When someone's beaten Federer, Nadal, Murray, and Djokovic, and has incredible insights, it's very strange you wouldn't want that person adding knowledge to tennis fans." End of quote.
So conciliatory as usual. First of all, I do not like that jab at Chris Eubanks because he's a great commentator. He's super prepared. Allegedly, right, according to people like John Wertheim and others, Nick was awesome on TV. I don't know that I agree.
Do you all remember that? How?
Yeah, the tennis world fell over itself last year to say, oh, I don't really like him, but wow, he brings so much to the broadcast. Now that may be true. I don't know that to be true, but that may be true for you and for other people. But this is a great example of you may have ability and insights, but your personality is going to screw it up for you every time.
And behavior.
Yeah. This happens to people in their careers, right? Just at their regular jobs. It's like, I have all the skills. I know how to do everything at my job. But sometimes people just don't like you. And that's why you're not getting promoted, or that's not why you're getting hired. That's part of being an adult.
It's part of being a citizen, existing with people and in relation to other people, right? Yeah. It's not just you. You don't just get to impose yourself on everybody without consequence.
Mm-hmm. So there were, of course, the nasty comments about his ex-girlfriend, Anna Kalinskaya. There was the hounding of Yannick Sinner, which, I mean, Yannick doesn't need to be protected, right? He's a grown man. But there was also the row?
Go for it, either one.
With Andy Roddick. I mean, when Nick disagrees with someone, he accuses them of doping, right? He's done it to all members of the Big Three. He used to talk shit about Novak all the time. Now they're besties.
It started way back in Montreal. One of the very first times when he was seriously out of line was when he was playing Wawrinka in Montreal.
Well, yeah, that was kind of when everybody found out about him, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can always rely on Naomi Osaka to prop him up professionally. The agency that she co-owns started his podcast, Good Trouble. He's gotten access to extremely high-level, high-profile guests. Now they're playing mixed doubles together at the US Open. Everyone in the tennis world is, like, turning their backs, and Naomi's like, love him.
At this point, she's probably got a contract that she has to fulfill, and that is her own doing.
Right, but
even if she has some personal objection, you've put yourself in this position.
I don't think she has a personal objection.
I'm not saying she does.
Right. She said she's gotten to know him and she finds he's really misunderstood and everything. But none of this stuff was a mystery before they signed whatever they signed.
There's nothing to misunderstand. In court news, we've learned from Daniel Kaplan that the WTA has asked the court to dismiss Lesia Sarenko's case against them.
Mm-hmm. Which is typical. Mm-hmm. It also happened in the cartel case with the ITIA, or the PTPA.
Claiming that the WTA has no legal duty to protect players from objectionable comments from other players.
It's a really interesting argument. So in this case, this is addressing Sarenko's accusation that she's been exposed to abusive and distressing comments about the war in Ukraine from players from Russia and Belarus. Now, the WTA is filing to dismiss the suit, saying, well, we can't protect you and we have no responsibility to protect you from those sorts of comments. But the question is then, does this apply to all objectionable comments or only those political in nature? And what does it mean for a comment to be political? The WTA has a code of conduct, of course, right? Is there a violation in there?
Right, because I think it would be reasonable to expect the WTA to step in if it caught wind that somebody was hurling slurs at Dasha Kasatkina.
Right. Now, Kaplan writes that he thinks they seem to be talking about political comments, but that really anything could be construed as political.
Apparently, too, WTA players are barred from suing the WTA based on documents they sign when they join the tour.
Yeah. And same for the ATP. This was actually part of the cartel lawsuit, that players are unfairly barred from suing the organizations because they signed something before they join. And the WTA is arguing that this case actually doesn't belong in court. This has to go to arbitration instead because of that stipulation.
There was a day this week where a lot of stuff happened in tennis, and a lot of bizarre stuff. Two of which involved Kei Nishikori and then Jannik Sinner. We will start with Nishikori. Apparently, Kei has been having a long affair with model Azuki Oguchi.
Yeah, like years-long affair, apparently. He is married.
Has
with
2 kids.
Children. We don't really report on relationships and adultery and stuff like that because, to be totally frank, I don't care. I do care about players' political beliefs. Sue me. But I really don't care who they marry and what they do in their personal life like that.
You also believe that the majority of them are cheating.
Men's tennis players are all cheating.
Oh.
Maybe not all. Maybe not your fave, you know.
What percentage would you say?
But my faves were.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. For legal reasons, that is alleged. This is protected because this is satirical.
Okay. Will that?
That's what I'm going to say.
Will that hold up?
I didn't use anyone's name, but I'm just saying a lot of the male players, especially, are cheating constantly.
So the reason
it's not a surprise.
The reason this came up is because somebody was about to spill the beans in an interview.
Right.
Right? That has to be the case. Otherwise, why volunteer this? Kei says, quote, "I deeply apologize for causing discomfort to everyone who supports me. Tennis fans, associations, sponsors, and other related parties, and for their concern and inconvenience due to my dishonest behavior. Additionally, I deeply regret making my wife and children feel hurt." Additionally, as an addendum to the apology,
Right.
like, sir.
Fans, sponsors, and other related parties, they came first, okay? Before family.
I think why this surprised a lot of people is that Kei has this public persona of being so meek and respectable and just... he has kind of like a royal aesthetic.
Yeah, a squeaky clean.
Yeah.
There must be a cultural element to the fact that he needed to apologize. And I'm reminded, K-pop stars have really strict standards of behavior that are enforced. So when they step out of line, when they date, or when they have an affair or whatever, they have to make these groveling apologies. And I'm not saying that Japanese and Korean culture are in any way the same. But it struck me as interesting that this was an obligation, that he had to make a public apology for something he did really to his family.
That same day, we saw a poster of Jannik Sinner with Andrea Bocelli coming soon. And we didn't really know exactly what it was. Like, could it actually be a duet? Is Jannik up here singing operatically
Right.
alongside
Nessun Dorma?
Bocelli? And the clarification came very soon afterward because we're hit with a video and song of Bocelli doing what he does with Jannik Sinner doing some spoken word Ashanti dreams type shit. Like, dreams are real, all you have to do is just believe.
In English.
Yeah.
So the song is called Polvere e Gloria, which means dust and glory. Yannick he's in the video, and they're showing, cute footage of when he was a little kid winning skiing trophies. There's a part where he's just sort of awkwardly standing next to Bocelli at the piano, and Bocelli is singing the song, and Yannick is giving you self-improvement adages and stuff. Very strange. Mm-hmm. Very camp.
There's no such thing as talent. It's hard work.
It's so camp. It's the definition, right? Because it is achingly sincere. But, I mean, I love it. I love it. I will watch it a lot.
But will you listen to it?
No. Well, you know how I feel about Bocelli. I'm not a fan. He's not... Well, let me stop there.
Not for you.
Just not for me. He's a good singer. He's not an opera singer.
Well, this is what happens when you're world number one. You start to build and expand your empire.
Yeah.
And it seems as though Yannick's empire is going to be very local for now. Like he's...
Wow.
No, it's not a dig on him. I'm just saying he's tapping into the local celebrity of it all.
Bocelli is international. But the
I know
Italiana,
you know what I'm saying.
It was not the next move that I anticipated, but I appreciate it all the same.
I guarantee you were not anticipating any moves. It was not something that was on your radar.
The next move would be like, oh, another fashion house sponsorship, or another appearance in Milan wearing some expensive name brand. I don't know, something less, to be frank, interesting.
Sure,
in its way, this is interesting.
I appreciate that this is completely out of left field. I would like tennis players to branch out more, given the opportunity.
Yeah.
How many times do I have to see a fucking Rolex? It's been way too many times.
Exactly. Where is the Coco Gauff, Sabrina Carpenter mashup? I don't know. Coco Cardi. Coco B.
Oh my God. The teams for the US Open mixed doubles event have been announced, and the fact that they've been announced so far in advance tells you two things. Well, it tells me two things. One, that this is it's an exhibition.
It is.
Like, you're going to dress it up, gussy it up, give him some big prize money and a trophy, and it's going to count toward history. But this is an exhibition. You're treating it like an exhibition. And that B, it's a cash grab. You want people to know who's going to be there. You want people to know who they can come see. And accordingly, sell those tickets in what? Week 1 of 3 of a slam.
Because, of course, it's really week -1. Right? The weeks have all been rebranded. It used to be week 1 and 2 of slams. Now we've got weeks 1, 2, 3. That week before the tournament at the US Open, it's like family week. It's fan week. People come for free and they watch qualifying and they spend a little money on concessions, but it is a cheap way to have a good time and get to see some tennis. And now these slams are encroaching upon their free weeks by adding revenue opportunities.
I just don't see why you couldn't have had both.
Oh, both this little
you
exhibition
can create
and
this little
mixed
thing,
doubles draw.
Give it a name. There's so many cups. Give it a name. It's what, 2 days? 2-3 days?
Yeah, super quick.
Super quick. It's abbreviated scoring. It's all these things that have been done. Give them the money. But see now, if you do that, and then you still pay the actual mixed doubles players beans,
well, yeah,
then it becomes a problem again, right?
And the thing is, the US Open didn't have faith or interest in the mixed doubles tournament as it exists. And yeah, the mixed doubles thing probably needs a little revitalization. The fans just aren't there in droves. But my objection here is you haven't allowed players to enter by virtue of their doubles ranking. It's singles ranking only. The great mixed doubles players have to beg, borrow, and steal to get in. They have to apply for a wild card because they won't get in based on their singles rankings.
Jan Zielinski? No.
Right, and he tweeted this week about, I won 2 slams last year in mixed doubles, but I can't play this.
Xie Sue? No. Katerina Siniakova? No.
Right.
Instead, we've got Emma Navarro and Yannick Sinner, Zheng Qinwen and Jack Draper, Jesse Pegula and Tommy Paul, Jasmine Paolini and Lorenzo Musetti, Yelena Rybakina and Taylor Fritz, Mira Andreeva and Daniil Medvedev, Madison Keys and Francis Tiafoe, Sabalenka and Dimitrov, Swiatek and Rude, Badosa and Tsitsipas. No, that's just taking it too far. Raducanu and Alcaraz, Bencic and that guy. Shocking.
Right.
Shocking. I am so surprised.
He was always nice to me.
This pick me. Olga Danilovic and Novak Djokovic. Taylor Townsend and Ben Shelton. This one actually makes sense.
It does. Townsend, of course, a slam winner in doubles. She belongs here.
And if she belongs there, she gets to pick who she wants. Probably would have been him anyway. Sarah Irani and Andrea Vavasori. Makes sense.
The defending champions.
Naomi Osaka and Nick Kyrgios. That's the field.
The thing is, like, this is fanfic, right? It's not a real field. It's not a serious endeavor, which is fine. Just don't give them a slam title. Let it just be a fun thing. Sabalenka said that Grigor begged her to pair up, which I believe. She's a great doubles player. I don't blame him for begging. But Grigor's got to keep that body together.
What does that mean?
Well, he's been fragile lately.
Okay. See, if you weren't so relentlessly thirsting over him,
Oh.
I wouldn't have needed
Wow.
clarification.
Navarro Sinner, I was surprised by. I didn't even know they knew each other.
A lot of these feel like, well, some of them feel like agency setups.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
Raducanu Alcaraz. What's going on there? Why is that happening?
He's kind of obsessed with her.
Oh, is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
And then Jack Draper was asked about his pairing with Jung, and he said, well, I wasn't asked by Emma, so yeah, I'm pairing with someone else.
I have a hard time believing that Qinwen is out here asking people.
Apparently, she quite likes Jack Draper as a player. She was quoted a long time ago mentioning his name.
I guess I just don't know anything.
Any of the... Yeah, I mean, this is... I guess when we were more online, more on Twitter, you might be more tuned to these things, these little relations between players, but... Yeah, there was a little shade in there where...
So you're saying we're old. We've aged out of
Right.
knowing the children's businesses.
The fanfic stuff I really don't care about. But Draper was very kind about it. He said, well, if she wants to win, I would have picked someone else as well. I would have picked someone like Carlos as well. No shade. But I still felt like there was a little like, But this isn't the Olympics. You don't have to pick the British guy.
We got a question from SDS on Instagram, and I'll ask it here. Hi there. I really enjoyed the podcast. A tennis thought I have had for a bit that has crystallized with Caroline Garcia's announcement. Are she, Ons, Sakkari equivalent to Zverev, Rublev, Tsitsipas? Not one-to-one, but in the way that both groups were hyped to ascend after legends retired, or tired, and then got jumped in line by a younger generation, and could never quite put it all together. No Grand Slam, etc.
Off the top of my head here, I guess I would say, well, there was a lot of hype for Garcia. And of course, that really started with Andy Murray. I don't know, did people think that Sakkari especially was going to be a world beater or a next generation? I felt like she had a very consistent run in the top 10, but she was kind of always doubted, I feel like.
And the finals...
In a way that those guys, like those next-gen guys, weren't.
Also, Ons came on the scene much later in her career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think folks were looking to her for an extended run of greatness on the tour.
Right.
You know, like, it felt, by the time she had arrived, that there was a cap.
I think there was a sense for a while that, you know, she could win a Wimbledon, she could win a French, but it was a really short window. And I'm not saying that she can't win a major title anymore, but there was a short window of maybe 2 years where it looked like, oh, she could actually be a multiple major winner. Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know, if certain things go right.
I mean, when you say there was or I say there was a ceiling or a cap, I don't mean that there was a cap on her talent or her ability to achieve. I'm talking about the length of it. You know, winning slams into her mid-30s. I don't think anybody saw her at that point as that type of player. I thought people saw her as a magician who could do well on the natural surfaces. Granted, she made a US Open final.
Yeah.
You know, she's somebody who could play on all surfaces. I think there was a general doubt of her game to be able to dominate in a way that you'd expect somebody who's going to be taking on the mantle of being the best of the next generation. I think it was an appreciation of, wow, it's so effing cool that she's here because I love watching her play. Kudos to her, and I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can. Whereas Caroline Garcia, yeah, folks, we expected her to be great.
Yeah. She's somebody who I think does have the game, who she could have been a number one, could have dominated for a little while. Some of her tactics are a little bit questionable. I mean, her return position probably cost her a lot of matches in her career. Just stubbornness. But as opposed to those three guys you mentioned, Rublev, Tsitsipas, and Zverev, they were all of them, at one time, well, not Rublev, but the other two very close to being a major winner, sometimes multiple times. Tsitsipas was up 2 sets on Djokovic in the French Open. His career could have looked very different.
That guy was up 2 sets on Dominic Thiem.
Right.
Up 2-1 on Carlos in finals.
Like, he's been in 3 major finals, won over 20 titles. These guys, and 2 of them also won the ATP finals. Zverev has a gold medal at the Olympics. They have been hyped for years in, I think, ways that Garcia, Jabeur, and Sakari probably weren't. Maybe there are other... the WTA is so different, too, because a lot of the kind of future stars on the WTA win majors really, really early in their career. Win it much younger than most men.
Also, Ons has as many slam finals as that guy and more than Tsitsipas, right?
Yeah. And at this point, Andreeva is kind of that group, right? Mm-hmm. And she may very well break through in a way they haven't. But she's got big wins against top players, has won 1000s. That's what those guys did at a slightly older age.
Appreciate the question. I hope we answered it in a not too roundabout way.
A few other bits of news. Pam Shriver announced on Twitter that she and Donna Vekic will officially be parting ways. She mentioned that it's just been a really tough year in LA because of the fires, and Vekic is now being primarily coached by Sasha Bayan.
Did you see Venus in L'Officiel? I don't know how you pronounce it.
L'Officiel?
L'Officiel?
I don't know.
Yeah. Those photos were stunning.
Great.
So Venus is now pivoting to be a full-time model. I'm here for it.
Model, commentator, filmmaker, inactive tennis player, according to the WTA. Not retired, but inactive.
She hasn't filed the paperwork, so
Nope.
they can't say that. It would be inaccurate. Petra Kvitova has announced that she will most likely be retiring after the US Open. That the tournament will likely be her final event. She's returned to tour after having her child. It's been a rough go of it so far. The results have not come this year. And she's looking forward to playing Wimbledon one final time, she says. Mm-hmm. Where, of course, she had the 2 biggest wins of her career, winning the title twice. And this will be a big loss for women's tennis, I feel. You know, people retire all the time, but this is a woman who made a mark. A big mark.
Yeah. In that 2010s era, winning so many big titles, 2 Wimbledons, reaching peaks of play that some people feel haven't been surpassed by anyone.
You're an iconic player when your name is reworked to match your play. When the E becomes a 3 and you're Petra with a 3, it's not mocking, it's loving, because she most often won those matches.
Right.
You know? She had very distinct features of her game, not least of which the squawking.
Sure, yeah.
Which was my least favorite part of watching Petra play, especially when she was playing my fave.
Right. And it's tough because she's seems like such a lovely person in general that it's hard to stay mad at Petra.
Yeah. We are almost done with postcards.
It's about time.
Embarrassingly, almost done with postcards.
They'll be done and mailed out before we leave for Wimbledon later this week. If you believe you are supposed to receive a postcard and you haven't in a few weeks, just let us know and we'll be happy to send you one. We have new postcards and bookmarks, even a new seal that we're really excited about.
We're pretty much done with this recording. It's a busy Sunday for us because we've done this episode and we're about to get on a call and record another one with a very special guest. We have not had a guest on the show in
like 2 years.
Years at this point?
Long enough that I forgot how to set up the mixer.
Yeah.
Had to practice yesterday.
We're going to make liars out of ourselves because we've had people periodically reach out and say, hey, I think I'd be a good fit as a guest, or this person's doing a book, would you have them on, kind of thing. And the kind of stock responses, it's not really what we do on this show. It's kind of a two-man show. We don't really do interviews. Now we're going to be liars.
For the most part, it's true. But this is
a very special exemption.
This is a special guest, somebody we know. And I mean, generally we're like very shy. So I don't know. I just too shy to talk to strangers.
Well, this will not be a stranger, and it'll be somebody we think most of you know. So look out for that. Can't tell you exactly when it will be dropping because this episode will come out within the next 24 hours. And then we've got to record the Wimbledon preview in 2 different countries and stitch it together.
So the draw comes out on Friday. We will arrive in the UK on Friday.
Yeah.
So we might have to record, we'll have to record from there.
Ooh, one final thing. I wanted to talk about Mariah's new single. It's called Dangerous because she's looking for that dangerous type. And she wants to know what's your type in the promo.
Debuted in the Hot 100 in the US. She has been a Billboard artist for 35 years.
At least.
Not many artists her age, especially women, ever have songs in the Hot 100 anymore.
What do you think about the song?
I'm a big fan. I think it's cute. Of course, there are allusions to It's Like That, the lead single off Emancipation. This is a lead single, kind of upbeat. I imagine there is something even bigger coming, just like with We Belong Together back then.
I think that this is working off of the blueprint of the Emancipation era.
Yeah.
I think she's trying to create a second coming of it.
The nostalgia moment.
Yeah.
It's 20 years ago, this year.
I keep hearing rumors about a really great gospel record, which of course, one of the best songs she ever recorded was on Emancipation with Fly Like a Bird, a gospel record.
Yep.
Rumors that it's with the Clark sisters.
I heard that would, now that would be cool.
I thought I heard a snippet, which could have been AI. Fake news? I don't know.
There has been AI floating out there, yeah.
But the lyrics of this song...
the Type Dangerous? Yeah.
It's wild. I fell out when I heard it the first time. Talking about, then came in 3 hating ass hoes.
Ma'am, you're 55 years old.
Don't be ageist.
Sure. Hating ass hoes come from all ages. And 2 people of all ages.
You'll be right. In the nursing home, and those hating ass hoes are right in the dining hall.
Oh, girl. There were some hating ass bitches at Broadway during Gypsy. Remember that? The whole place erupts with Audra's, both of the act ending songs, right? And as we're leaving, there's 3 hating ass hoes, as Mariah said, talking about, oh, she was good, but she can't belt. I like Patty. I'm like, well, look how history has treated that comment.
That brings us to the end of episode 384. My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Blue Sky at Tennis John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's. Everything Body Serve related can be found at linktree.com/thebodyserve. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.